Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 dangerous destinations in the world. For this list, we're looking at perilous attractions that you can check out at your own risk. A few have even recently been closed off, or are in the process of getting closed off to travellers in an attempt to save lives, at least for the time being. Number 10. Darara Gas Crater, Turkmenistan. This burning crater goes by multiple names, the most notorious being the Door to Hell and Gates of Hell. Once believed to be an oil field, this site was actually a source of natural gas. Not long after coming to this realization, the drilling rig fell into the crater. While thankfully nobody died, it was decided to burn off the potentially poisonous gas to prevent it from reaching nearby towns. Since it's continued to burn for 5 decades, you're gonna have a bad time if you fall in. Even when keeping your distance, the 230-foot wide pit still raises health and environmental concerns. Turkmenistan seems to be moving to finally extinguish the crater, not merely for public safety, but to also increase gas exports. Number 9. Cliffs of Moher, Ireland. These sea cliffs possess a mystical ambience right out of a fantasy story. They've even been featured in magical movies like The Princess Bride and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. The views are so enchanting that it can be tempting to get as close to the edge as possible. With an elevation of almost 510 feet though, it's a long trip down. The jagged cliffs may look stable, but certain sections are prone to collapse. As long as you stay in the official walking trail, you'll be fine. That said, a lot of people have strayed from the path over the years. Not all of them met an untimely end, but in 2019, a college student tragically fell while attempting to take a selfie. Number 8. Meteora Greece. What happens when you construct a massive complex atop a towering rock formation? You get a wondrous World Heritage Site that invites plenty of potential safety hazards. Once consisting of 24 monasteries, the Meteora now only hosts 6. Whether observing the Meteora from afar or standing at the edge of a monastery, you're in store for some of Greece's most breathtaking views. Don't get too close to the edge though, as the average elevation is over 1,000 feet. If you think the site looks like the kind of hideout a James Bond villain would have, you're right on. The Monastery of the Holy Trinity was featured in For Your Eyes Only, with one character falling to his doom. All we'll say is just be safer than he was. Number 7. Saint-Michel-de-Grès, France. A grier translates to needle, and this conspicuous chapel certainly stretches out like one. On one hand, building a chapel atop a volcanic plug is sure to catch eyes from the surrounding town. On the other hand, Bishop Gudeskalk probably should have selected a safer spot to set up shop. Nobody can question its majesty, but if you don't watch your step, you might take a nasty spill. This centuries-old site provides a view from nearly 280 feet high, with 268 carved rock steps laying out the path. Although it only takes about 10 minutes, the narrow steep climb still provides a potentially dangerous challenge. Once you're at the top, you can take it easy, but at this elevation, always be cautious of your surroundings. Number 6. Katski Pillar, Georgia. Once again, we have a church that looks perfectly quaint and cozy on its own. When you zoom out to reveal where it's being constructed though, you might get a bit paranoid. This isolated Georgian Orthodox church is nestled on top of a limestone monolith that reaches almost 130 feet into the heavens above. While Saint-Michel-de-Grès may be higher up, we'd argue that the Katski Pillar is more hazardous. Nobody would even attempt to climb the pillar until 1944, and even today, most visitors are forbidden from going up. Only monks are permitted to take the perilous pilgrimage using a steel ladder. Honestly, tourists are much better off observing from below, because surviving a fall from that height would be nothing short of miraculous. Number 5. The Hanging Temple, China. A structure built on top of a cliff is one thing, but how about one built into a cliff? Living up to its name, this Buddhist temple quite literally hangs from a harrowing precipice. Established during the 6th century, the Hanging Temple owes much of its longevity to its location. The summit above protects the structure from the sun, falling rocks, and rain erosion. Believe it or not, its wooden pillars were added after the fact to provide a little extra support. Even with that addition, we wouldn't recommend hanging off the handrails. At just under 250 feet above the ground, it's impressive that the temple is still hanging over 1500 years later, but was a structure this precarious destined to persist? Number 4. Lake Natron, Tanzania. When people think of lakes, soothing crystal waters immediately come to mind. So, Lake Natron is the opposite of what you'd expect, with waters that can reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit and a distinctive red colour. It might not be the Nile, but the lake could be mistaken for the first plague of Egypt. The red and pink aesthetic is achieved through the lake's salt-loving microorganisms. While appearances can be deceiving, Lake Natron is every bit as hazardous as it looks. Aside from being hot enough to leave you with third-degree burns in mere seconds, the toxic algae can have other long-term effects. Sure, you may find animals like flamingos frolicking in the water, but they were born to adapt to this kind of environment. We definitely were not. Number 3. Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. Speaking of unfathomably hot areas, the Danakil Desert bears down on visitors with temperatures that can exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. In addition to being among Earth's most scorching locations, it's one of the lowest as well. The Danakil Depression, in particular, is far below sea level. This desert is incredibly hot and full of deadly gases. If the heat doesn't get to you, the practically unbreathable atmosphere will. That's not to say the desert is uninhabitable, as afar people can be found mining salt. The closest town is a 2-day journey, however, so you might want to sit this trip out if you have health conditions, but the Danakil Desert is beautiful in its own unique way. Number 2. Death Valley, California. The name alone tells you it's dangerous, but how did Death Valley get such an unsettling title? Well, it's been said that the area was deemed Death Valley sometime around 1849 or 1850, during the California Gold Rush. A group of pioneers got lost in the valley, with one of them perishing. The remaining pioneers were rescued, but as one of the lost 49ers departed, he supposedly said, "Goodbye, Death Valley." Even with modern innovations like smartphones, it's easy to get lost in Death Valley, with reports of missing hikers and campers still surfacing. Death Valley is treacherous, of course, due to its excessive heat. The record high of 134 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded in 1913. And things haven't cooled off much since, with summer temperatures still capable of reaching as high as 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Mount Everest, Nepal. From one of Earth's hottest spots to one of the coldest, Mount Everest is cold. Very cold. The frigid climate is just one of the many reasons that Mount Everest is such a perilous destination. With an elevation that exceeds 29,000 feet, you won't find a higher mountain above sea level. Although more than 4,000 people have successfully climbed Everest, over 300, at least, have died on the mountain. With risks of altitude sickness, a lack of oxygen, below freezing temperatures, potential avalanches, and no shortage of places to fall from, it takes a seasoned mountaineer to conquer Everest. For everyone else, we're fine admiring its splendor from the sidelines.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.